Welcome back to our second podcast on the Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence here at Concord. Today's episode is going to talk about employee buy-in, and we're going to talk about a couple things like trust in AI, how to trust AI in our companies, how do we cultivate a culture where people feel like they can embrace AI and experiment with it, and then how do we upskill our employees and how do people add tools to their toolkit so that they can not fear job loss. And then finally, like productivity in AI, how do we become more productive with AI rather than letting it take over our roles? Plumman, will you get us started with the first question?
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Thank you, Aubrey. And maybe just to get us grounded here, what we've observed is that we frequently talk about AI adoption by companies, by employees, while focusing overwhelmingly on the technology, like AI as a technology, what it does, and so forth. In reality, the harder problem is the human side of things. And we're all humans, and businesses and organizations succeed, and AI succeeds in organization when it does not replace people, but it amplifies human capability and also frees people to do higher value work, make them feel better, be more productive, and grow their skills and careers. And just we've taken that approach here. Our AI Acceleration Center of Excellence that we discussed earlier focuses just as much as creating confidence, competence, and curiosity among employees and clients, as much as it does on introducing the new powerful tools and enhancing our job activities. So I would say let's get going with the first topic, trusting AI. I mean, it's a new technology, and before people start using it, companies start using it, we have to trust it. So how can employees actually trust that AI will do the job it's supposed to do it right, and help them with that? Anybody wants to jump on that? Mudit?
Yeah. Yeah, I think firstly, like trusting an AI system, I think it's really quite difficult to do. I mean, it's basically some of these models, like the AI models, like we use ChatGPT, Claude, all of these models every single day, and the thing is, they sound pretty convincing in everything that they say. I mean, even if the information is wrong, they're gonna be basically sounding so convincing that you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, I've got to agree to that. But it's I would say that that is a skill in itself, telling when a model is basically lying to you versus when it's not. So I think basically there needs to be a lot of domain knowledge. And let's say you're performing a task and you need to have a lot of domain expertise to identify that, okay, this is something that the AI completely made up, or versus this is something that I think is the correct answer. And I think that is one part where employees need to upskill themselves, is that basically they need to understand their domain well enough to catch these errors, the things that AI gets wrong.
Yeah, maybe I can actually um, add something to this. When you are doing these interactions with AI, it's really very useful to ask the question maybe multiple times, rephrase it, see if the answer remains the same. Because as we know, models are actually people pleasers, so they will say anything and everything that will make you happy. But basically, if you rephrase, most likely the truth will pop up again. And if it was a hallucination or just people pleasing, then it might change and you will just caught it up in while it's moving. And yeah, I guess, and also be careful when you ask questions which are a little bit, let's say, on something that's novelty and it's not very well established path, because this is where most likely your judgment and your domain expertise, as you said, Mudit, will be much more important, and you have to exercise extra caution. And when we do this automatically, we actually do a lot of validations of whatever comes as output of the model. We actually put sometimes deterministic because that's what we trust most, or other multiple things that we can check with the response. So we make sure that it stays in line and put the guardrails.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, what I've heard you all say is we really need to know where AI works best in order to trust it. So AI needs to earn its trust
every time
through experience and transparency, right? It's not just about blind trust. And as an example, and we need to be educated to know where AI works and where it is suspicious. So we know very well that AI is good at pattern recognition and summarization, but we also know that AI struggles with context, with nuance, with ethics, and we have to know that that's where we need to be careful about and focus in. And also, I think it's important that people, employees, clients, they participate in co-creating and developing the solution, and they can contribute to identifying how best to apply AI to their jobs and their tasks. Like, what task slows you down? That's the question we should ask when we're designing an AI solution, not which task can AI replace. And also, we need to be very transparent as we're building it, showing it how it works and showing it where things actually work and where things have questionable results. So small steps that prove the point and that bring confidence. That's how AI builds the trust in the workplace.
I think it also helps to let people know what data was used to build the model so that they can understand how it was built. When you understand how it's built, you can trust better what you're getting out of it. You know how to ask better questions, and you then know you can trust your answers if you're asking questions that it has access to the data. If you're asking questions that are outside of that data set, you might not trust your answers as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just being clear as a company what you're going to be using AI for can help you build trust with your employees, because if they know things that are maybe beneficial to use AI for rather than not as beneficial to use AI for, they'll be more clear from the get-go of these are things that I can trust AI to take on versus what I can't.
Okay. Yeah, and when building those tools, if we actually provide the employees to do the validations themselves, to have the power to check. If it comes to internal data, you have to have alternative way to actually get those data, not just through the AI model, and see for yourself if it's convincing, and if you're know what you're doing, it will be very easily to build trust. But if it comes out of the blue, as you said, Aubrey, it will be just okay. I mean, might be that, might not be that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also really, I mean, some of these AI models, they're really good at basically spinning up sources on the fly. They're going to basically make up a fake source and link to that. And you also get a fake link to that. And once you open that, there's going to be nothing there. So I think verifying each and every source that it links to, I think that is also quite important. And it's always important to make sure that these systems, I mean, the responses, they're basically grounded in the sources that it's going to pull from. So,
yeah, sometimes it's like a devil's advocate, the way they read the source. I've seen complete reversal of the conclusion of a scientific paper just by summarizing it, I guess.
Yeah, maybe you guys can talk about a little bit in your experience where people shouldn't trust AI and where it kind of falls short.
I mean, I can give an example that comes to mind immediately without disclosing some of our client names, but um, creating content for marketing purposes has always been one of the very desirable capabilities, right? So we know that it requires a lot of skill to figure out the tone, the cultural nuance of a video or of a commercial to resonate in a promotion of a product. So I've observed a proof of concept for a sandwich company that needed to demonstrate a very successful launch of a new sandwich product. It's like a deli style product. And it had to target certain populations, so you could tune it to be the healthy, the young, the energetic. So everything was good. And the co-pilot helped that. But ultimately, in front of the client, when we're like, well, it wasn't us necessarily, it was a proof of concept presented to the final product. It showed a really great sandwich that was a hamburger. And the client said, but we're not in the hamburger business, we're in the deli business. So what got missed? What got missed is the tuning, the contextual. So AI really still fails at context. It pulls information, connects the dots from many places, and by connecting the dots from many places, it connects dots that it should not connect. And that's the problem. How do you guide it and tune it and make sure it connects only the appropriate dots, and make sure that when you create a commercial content for a sandwich, you don't go beyond what it should be. So to answer your question, Aubrey, is context and nuance are the two things that we know AI struggles with. It's really good at pattern recognition, but we have to be very careful and make sure we tighten the context very carefully so it does not go beyond the script. I don't know, anybody else have any
I
other
also
examples?
have a somewhat generic example where AI actually goes wrong. And this is when you actually give it too much of a bite to chew. So if the input data are overwhelming for the model, it actually starts losing context. It drops some of the parts of the information. So this is more of a question of how you design your approach to let's say use RAG or any other technique to digest the information prior to giving it to the model, because otherwise you will actually struggle with getting the correct response. Because we know that the leading labs, they are kind of advertising this needle in a haystack capabilities of remembering facts from the context and things like that. But in a more complex real world interaction where you have to let's say extract a lot of numbers from a lot of huge amounts of data, then some very different approach has to be done beforehand. I mean, you have to probably do some, let's say you offload the information in structured databases, you do queries, you retrieve it, then on the retrieved result, you actually do the processing, and then you will have a coherent answer. Otherwise, if you just hope for the best and give it the entire stack of information, you will just get iffy results. They will be, sometimes they will be good, sometimes they will be not. And to validate this will be exactly the same effort as doing it yourself every time from scratch. So it basically negates the whole introduction of the model in this case.
So Christo, is it fair to say that the best way to get the best results from AI human collaboration is to treat AI as your junior helper and assign particular tasks that it does really well, versus treating AI as your smarter expert that knows it all and replaces your thinking?
The problem with the junior expert analogy is that it's sometimes actually junior experts remember a lot more from the context that you give them, and next time they know, versus the model you have to give it every single time to be sure it's, especially when, and I alluded this in the first part, basically when you're trying to do things a little bit differently than other people's are doing it, you basically in every single iteration with the model, you have to be reminding it, do it this way. It's the way I want it. I mean, don't do it any other way, because it will definitely steer to what's the standard, what's the normal way of doing things. And that's basically, again, from a global perspective, like if you're creating a niche or a business that does something different than others and you want some, I mean, to gain some advantages out of that's not helpful. You have to be there to guide it to do what you think it's good for your business, not what's on average good.
So do we want to change kind of direction a little bit, talking about AI in the context of human? There isn't anything more personal than, will AI take my job away? And I'm thinking, do we want to kind of progress that, talking a little bit about the impact of AI on jobs and job losses, followed by what I think, how can human and AI work together? That will be a second topic. And thirdly, how can we as humans prepare for the new era where AI will be part of our employment? So do we want to start with the job loss? Anybody? Moody, do you want to start us on what you feel? Will AI take jobs away, and does it, and how?
I think right now, I think AI, it's basically, I mean, it's like there's a lot of hype surrounding it that, oh, it's gonna take my job, and there's a lot of fear amongst people that how do we prevent our job loss? But right now, I think in the current landscape, I can say that AI isn't completely replacing humans and it's not replacing entire jobs. It can basically replace a specific subset of what they do, like specific tasks within jobs, but I think we're still in the early stages of understanding what is truly automatable at scale, that it's going to replace humans. And I think the real risk for like jobs, it isn't even like AI systems replacing them. It's basically people that are using AI that is going to replace people that aren't using AI. And I think that can be said for companies as well. I mean, companies that I feel like companies that aren't using AI currently in their operations or how they operate, they're basically going to be replaced by companies that actually do use AI to basically operate more efficiently. And so it basically just boils down to not just what you do, but basically how you do the work. So basically combining human judgment, creativity, and domain experience with AI. I think that is going to be the future.
Yeah, fully agree. And actually, a lot of job losses are actually labeled as AI related, but there are some factors that actually were already in making in companies. So they're just using it as a scapegoat because, as you said, I don't think processes are fully automated at this point. So to have a good replacement, you actually have to have something that is going to completely do your job. It's going to need no intermediate interface or anything else. If you need this, you actually need a person to manage it, and it becomes like half gone job. So yeah, I agree that it is really, at this point, is just speculation on what's possible, and basically think of this as if the job was so repetitive and mundane, then maybe this is not so interesting as a human job. I mean, let's use our skills to something that we can contribute meaningfully, and basically refocus the, maybe not so much into hard labor and copying and pasting for the sake of copying and pasting, but just thinking of what you're doing and work smart.
Yeah. I think that the nature of work will definitely change, and we can see it changing. And I don't believe that it's honest to say that some tasks will not be replaced by AI, just the same way automation replaced some tasks earlier. So, I mean, you all remember like the most basic example, driving down the highway and you stop to pay your toll. There were toll booths with people in there. So I don't know when was the last time you saw a toll booth with a person. It's first we were throwing coins. Now it's just your camera capturing or RFID capturing that you're passing by. So that's that job category is gone. So, and that's not AI. I mean, maybe partial AI with image recognition. So definitely there'll be an impact, but also at the same time, it freed up people to do other things that are more interesting and more
healthier than sitting the
appropriate
highway.
more appropriate for humans. So I just wanted to share. I've been thinking a lot about that, and I can share many years ago, decades, while I was in college, I spent my summers being a translator between languages. Just happened to have learned several languages, and both writing translation and also during conferences speaking, translating from one language to another. And in one of the latest reports, translators, the job of translators is one of the most impacted by the latest generation of AI, and the core of translation, converting text from one language to another, is one of the tasks that we know that LLMs perform really well. I mean, you're getting to be fluent across different languages. Tools like DeepL, ChatGPT, Gemini, Microsoft Translator. I mean, they really not only translate word by word, but also they can convert some tones, some idioms, and they do that at scale and instantly. So I was thinking and reading up what's happening in that profession, which is a pretty interesting and good profession, and it's pretty clear why the research found that it's very impacted by AI, because routine document translation is at high risk of being replaced. Like things like contracts, reports, user manuals across countries, you can get at least the first draft. You don't need that many translators to get started. Things like subtitling and captioning. I mean, how many captions are human done these days? Probably not many. We know that. It's not perfect, but it fits the context. It's good enough to be done at scale. And also some internal business communications like emails, meeting notes, chat messages. Again, these are high volume, low context. This is a key thing. Low context, repetitive translation tasks where the current maturity of AI technology can replace certain tasks and certain work done by humans. So it is fair to say that the pure word-for-word translation is being commoditized, and it's at risk. But does it mean that the entire profession is gone? And what would you do to stay ahead of the curve? And so where AI is not good at is at cultural and contextual adaptation. It's not good at quality assurance of all outputs and post-editing. It's not good at domain specialized translation, translating medical literature or like very detailed legal documents and things like that. And also multimodal and conversational translation is also not quite there, and humans are significantly better at that. So in a way, I was thinking, what would I have done if I've stayed being a translator? And definitely increase your AI literacy. Don't avoid AI. Know that it's part of your tooling, and you have to take full advantage of it and get really good at translation with AI. Focus on your human advantage, cultural and emotional intelligence. Focus on areas where you can be a lot more specialized, like legal, medical, financial translations. Understand terminology. And also getting upskilled, also focus on human-human and a human AI collaboration. Become a superhuman translator. So I just wanted to share that since make it personal. A profession that is definitely impacted, but it does not mean that there is not a path to becoming higher skilled and still have a good opportunities there. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, to emphasize your point, I was recently reading a children's book, which apparently was translated by AI. And what was missing was the context that it has to be written in words understood by 2 to 3 year old child, and nobody read-proof it. And it was horrible. I mean, it was using words that I don't use in daily practices. And this is exactly to your point. I mean, you can use those tools to accelerate your work, but never think it's done. Never think it's done completely for you, because currently it is not. I mean, it's just getting it very close, but still you have to exercise and polish it, those final touches that will make, first you will feel the ownership of the work, and still you have the way to influence the output, and that's important. I mean, adding those human aspects. You will have different ways of translating things in sensitive situations versus what the model will do, and so forth. And yeah, and I wouldn't trust high political conversations to be completely led by automatic translation, because this could go really wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think real world example that I can think of is basically, I think Apple, in their new AirPods, they basically have got a feature that can perform translation right in the AirPod itself. So it can basically listen to a language and translate that. But I think right now it's in beta testing. But again, there's some of the problems I think that were highlighted by Climate and Risto. I think I think they're showing up, and I think that the main problem is that sometimes the accuracy is poor with slangs, sarcasm, and some of the other important things. So these are the things that I think literally AI, what it tries to do is it tries to translate things literally, and that is where a lot of context gets lost. And I think that is a real world example where we're already seeing that happen.
Aubrey, what do you see in your line of work?
Yeah, I was just thinking, because from all of your perspective, you work in AI, so it's not as likely that AI is going to take your job, because you guys are kind of the masters behind it. Whereas my job is definitely impacted by AI a lot. I personally use AI a lot in my role, but if I wasn't, the things that AI could take over in my job would be like writing emails, the email campaigns that I do, writing the posts that I post, and I already use AI to assist with all those things. But if you're using all of your time to do those things, like if you're spending hours writing an email campaign, post for Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever you're using, you might be in a sticky situation when AI does come to take over those things. So rather than being afraid of that, I would say just start using it now, because it's probably going to be used sometime soon in the future anyways, and learn how to use it to make your own skills better, rather than take over something that you're lacking. So yeah.
So one of our so kind of resonates a lot with me. We're currently working on a internal implementation, pilot/implementation, to help our sales team be more productive. And what our sales team said, that they really would love to have a way to generate and produce the first version of a proposal really quickly. Currently, just because they're tracking multiple leads and they're talking to multiple prospects and just the mechanics of building a proposal when they know what needs to go in there can take a couple of weeks. Not because it's going to take a couple of weeks to write it, but they have to assemble it. They have to, while they're kind of jumping on different jobs and tasks and calls. So what we're working with them is to create within a few hours the first version of a proposal after they've had their call. So understanding what the client is looking for, what is the history, researching, like the deep research of the industry and client, and connecting to our company's database and repository and figuring out what do we know about that prospect, what do we know about this industry, what do we know about this problem solution, is it supply chain, is it marketing, and so forth. And using our templates and the company logos and our logos, produce within minutes or hours a first draft that is 85% good to go, and make it available to the salesperson to really quickly make any modifications, tune it, put their expertise, and get it out within a couple of days versus within a few weeks. So very much like what Aubrey is saying, if sales teams that continue to do it all manually will run out of time and will be at risk, and they will probably have to face teams that are really good at using AI, doing the same job faster and better.
Yeah, it's kind of the get on board or get left behind type of situation. If you're not going to get on board, it's just going to hurt you more.
Yeah. So in that context, I don't
We're
know.
moving to upskilling very swiftly.
Yeah. So what does it take? So that's the big question. What is the right way, and what do we see as helping companies, employees, our clients, our own internal teams to be ready and excel in this new world of AI plus human working hand in hand? So who wants to take on that? How do we upskill? How do we cultivate a culture of AI?
I guess I can speak on a personal level how you approach it, and maybe that scales to the company level as well. And I guess we have Aubrey here as a good example. First, think of things that are really like repetitive, and you think you can actually somehow automate and make easier. So look for tools that are doing it. Try to put your stamp and your signature on how those tools are operating under your vision. But in this way, you're becoming basically part of the solution, not of the problem, which is basically to get rid of this particular automated job by getting rid of you. But instead, you are basically doing better job with the tools, and you are the one who is still doing it. And in a way also that alludes to a second aspect, which is these AI tools are really rich information sources that you can not trust fully, but very important for you to expand your area of expertise and become more versatile. So as long as you have a lot of opportunities in your head and you feel like you're able to do a lot more things than only your job description, you're not going to be so much frozen of the event that, well, what will I do if my job is threatened? Because you will have so many skills to apply in different areas that you're basically going to breathe normally and continue learning. And this actually, one thing with the AI that it's kind of this dogma of not trusting it completely reminds me of early experience when I was a student. I had a textbook, which was physics textbook, which was completely full of errors in the formulas. So in order to understand what the actual formula was, you often have to actually rederive it from the basic first principles and understand how the whole things work. And this definitely was much better textbook for me, because I actually learned a lot more by correcting all of those mistakes, versus if you just see it, you don't take the time to think about it, you're just passing through and it doesn't stick to your mind. And basically my advice will be to use those models to basically deepen your knowledge and understanding, and do this deliberately, do this all the time on a subject that you're passionate about, and you are going to basically be able to generalize those skills across different tasks that you have to do, and that's a skill that's very transferable, and you will feel supercharged by it, and productivity will go up as well. So
Yeah, I think you make a good point, because one thing you can do with AI is kind of use it as an idea generation and kind of brainstorming tool. So places where you need to fill in your own knowledge gaps, it can be really helpful to like kind of talk back and forth with it and use it as like, okay, where can I expand on this if I don't know the full topic? You can kind of use it as research, but then also like generating those ideas.
Yeah. And in that context, also, I was reading a few experiences from a few people that posted their in the software. So, software development and design is one of the professions that is also quite affected by AI, and we experience it. And you have to be smart about it. So everybody has heard the context of vibe coding, and if the kind of the process of designing, capturing requirements, designing and iterating on a prototype has dramatically changed with vibe coding. Vibe coding. If you're not using it, then probably you're at a disadvantage, because you're still working with PowerPoints, you're still working with sketches, versus giving a firsthand experience as to what your product may look like, and really speeding up the feedback loop and the process of getting to the design and to the requirements and to the usefulness of your product, like the convergence. Having said that, you have to be smart about it. So vibe coding is not the tool that you would use to build your final product, at least not right now. For sure, not in the very immediate future. Knowing how to scale it, how to make it like integratable or reusable, how to fit into your particular environment, it still requires some different tools and skills. Again, they can be AI enhanced, but it's just a different set of tools. So the human has to become the master of knowing how to apply the different tools and manage across them and make it very efficient, versus trying to reinvent and recreate the wheel and become expert on everything or in one particular domain. That the profession of software development and design is definitely changing, and being able to take full advantage of the AI tooling is a key part of the future. I don't know, Mudit, any thoughts, or Christo?
Yeah, I think it's changing a lot, because I think right now I believe people, they're spending a lot of time debugging code instead of actually writing it. And I think to debug code, that is a skill in itself. And basically, you need to have a good amount of domain expertise of what you're trying to build, and that is how you can basically debug code. Because I think right now, vibe coding, you can help it's going to accelerate your coding process. Like basically, it's going to give you initial draft of the code, but basically making sure that it actually works and how can we, get it working in a production ready setting. I think that still takes a lot of skill to do.
Mhm. Yeah, and actually to add on that, it's when you do like the next iteration of vibe coding would be spec-driven development, which is your besides the context that you're supplying for the basically model to generate some piece of code, you provide a lot more. You provide what technologies you want to use. You want to create a very detailed plan on how you want to architect the solution, basically how to do the validation steps. Every single aspect of what you normally do, you can actually additionally automate to a degree. And again, everything is to a degree because eventually you have to monitor every time the system writes code. You can see some anti-patterns used, and you basically note that, put them in the list and say, next time you don't do that. I mean, I don't write like that, and I don't want to see a code like that. And this is like a huge change of the way you do, again, the repetitive parts of your flow, but still the core knowledge and understanding that you have and accumulated with time, and maybe just your style, you actually have to be able to offload it to the model as a context so it become useful. Otherwise, it is always conflicting with what you have in mind, and you're basically trying to fight it with words and explain it as a context, which might take a lot more than just, sometimes it's easier to express things in programming language than in human language. One has a lot like more specific bandwidth compared to the other. So yeah, but hopefully, yeah, we don't go too much in programming because you see all of us excited on this topic and maybe Aubrey becoming a little bit not so interested. So yeah, I think
No,
upskilling is every field. Yeah.
no, I was just going to
Yes.
add
Aubrey.
because you guys are kind of talking about the technical side of this vibe coding. But from my perspective, vibe coding is really awesome because I can think of an idea like the agent that I've been working on. I can think about an idea and I can actually make it happen. I don't have to waste time getting other people on board. I can kind of try it out first, see if it works, and then get maybe more technical experts on board to make it really, really good. So yeah, I think everyone should be playing around with vibe coding, trying things out and building things. In your free time, it's really fun actually. So you just take some time to go back and forth with some model and you'll learn a lot. So
Yeah. So the future of work is changing. Maybe we can wrap it up with some final thoughts here. Humans are not going away anywhere anytime soon. So it's not going to be a planet inhabited by AI and robots. So we will still be around. So the question is, as the world changes, how will we change to fit better into what technologies bringing to us and what it helps us with, and how it changes our daily lives. So let's wrap it up with some thoughts on what we feel a company can do to help employees become relevant and stay relevant in the new world, and how employees can help themselves to do the same, and what is the employee-employer relationship. What should the expectations be to bring companies to the AI era or AI generation? So anyone want to take it?
I guess
I can start.
embrace continuous learning.
Yeah, go ahead, Aubrey.
I would say, I think I talked about this a little bit in our last episode, but I have been like kind of encouraged to be able to experiment with AI in everything I do. And I think the fact that I have support from my boss and from just people in the company to be able to experiment with different tools and different projects, that is really helpful from my perspective. So I think that starts kind of at the top. So if leadership can encourage their own employees to experiment and to try things out and maybe fail and maybe need to redo things, I think that's probably where it starts, is that culture of experimentation, and kind of that entrepreneurship culture as well, where you can own projects and kind of make things your own. In your free time, you can work on side projects and side hustles and within your own job. So yeah, that's a good place to start.
Christo,
I
your
think it's
final
also
thoughts on this one? Or Modit?
Yeah, go ahead, Modi. Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say that I think it also helps that companies, they basically do need to define an AI strategy and basically truly define that, okay, these are some of the use cases that we do see that, okay, AI can do well, and then these are some of the use cases that we basically want to build systems to basically help accelerate or solve. And I think that becomes quite important as well. So I think I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and maybe in terms of advice toward companies as well, they have to create this minimum literacy in their employees so they actually first feel empowered how to use those tools and then know how not to use them. Because there are a lot of examples where we can see that if you build naively things, you can fall into scenarios where you expose company data, you basically create insecure flows that are hackable and do a lot of damage to the reputation of AI tools just by not doing the right things with them. So basically invest in this new tool and upskilling of your workforce, because it's really what makes the whole company being able to properly utilize those tools instead of just relying on this natural infusion of AI because of the free access of those tools to all of your employees. And if you are not having any say or control over it, it might become a little bit not misaligned with your company values and goals.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe if you like, if I can summarize what I've heard is, and I strongly believe in this, is companies that embrace AI will be the successful businesses of the future, and companies that neglect it probably may not be around for too long. So, not sure if that's a prophecy or not, but I wouldn't be surprised that that has something true to it. So, Aubrey, do you want to close out?
Yeah. We kind of covered all these topics that we set out at the beginning: trusting AI, job loss, where you can also kind of embrace it and not let it take over. And then these skills and productivity, I think that's a big thing that each person needs to be thinking about, where their job might be taken over by AI, and then using that to help them understand what skills they need to be gaining through AI. And then finally, that culture of experimentation and maybe AI strategy within your companies. That's a big kind of to do for a lot of companies. Where can you kind of set the tone for your culture? But yeah, I think this is a great conversation, guys. Once again, and you can talk to any one of us. You can reach out to anyone at Concord about where we can help out with your AI strategy or your AI projects. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you all. Talk to you
Thank you.
soon.